Okay. No media volume. Not allowed. 51 followers. Dang. Getting some progress now, are we? Oh, hey, Sina. Okay. Every once in a while, I write my book on stream, and these are the 3 tabs that I keep a handle of it over, so. But yeah, I'm doing good. How about you? Sorry, the reason why I kind of suddenly went silent on Discord was because I was setting up stream. I just gotta make sure everybody's here real quick. Oh, gross. Yeah. I don't know if I'm stupid, but like, it's pretty obvious that my character in the burrow is me, right? I act kind of completely contradictory to how I normally would. So, since I also changed my name in that server, I just wasn't sure if people forgot I was there. I'm sure that most people understood that it was me, but I don't know. Sometimes I get the feeling that people don't necessarily know it's me. I don't know why I get that feeling. I just do. It's there's a lot of things that go on in my head. Your character is a creative type of person. Yeah, I usually am the creative type of person, except for when I'm in front of people, in which case my brain immediately dumbs down. Yo, Big Bear, how's it going? You've been on one of my writing streams before, right? I think so. Gotta get all these cables out of the way. Oh. Oh man, I forgot. You guys still haven't ever seen this. Is it? Yeah. There it is. There's the end plot notes. The end plot notes that I keep hidden from everybody. Nobody knows what these are except for my closest friend, who is also the co-writer of this story. I made sure to put lots of space. That way I never accidentally did anything. But yeah, so right now I probably need to finish working on all of the actual characters. It is a secret. It's a secret. It's the... It's the overarching plot. Basically, there's gonna be an event in the very beginning of the story that is gonna be a direct trigger to the end of the story. And I'm really psyched because me and my co-writer were just talking about it one day, and suddenly we're just like, wait, hold on, this is a good chance to do this. And so we did, and you guys won't know what it is until I come out with the first chapter of the book. Which is in progress. Episode 1. Yes. Yes. Oh yeah, so since you've never been here before, during one of my writing streams, I'll go over the basic stuff. Um, so essentially, there's a. Okay, you know, we're gonna have to go all the way to the top. Okay, so essentially, this is a story that takes place in a society after an apocalyptic event where a meteor hit the Earth again and wiped out 97% of the human population. Uh, yeah, 97% of the human population and 60% of the Earth's land became uninhabitable because of all of the destruction. Um, Basically, the survivors of uh, the actual um, civilization of humanity before the asteroid. So basically, the only humans left after the asteroid hit. Um, Basically, they just all start dropping like flies because they aren't used to having to survive without technology. Uh, and over time, oh, what kind of destruction? Uh, so basically, a massive war broke out on Earth, um, and then right as the war was about to come to uh, a close and the war was about to end, an asteroid hit the Earth and basically sent everybody back to the Stone Ages. Nothing basically was the same as before. Technology stopped working because of electromagnetism being on the fritz, and so people had to basically survive without technology, which humans weren't used to, because this takes place like modern day. If all technology suddenly stopped working in today's society, it would collapse. Like 100%, it would collapse. Um, and so basically, humans started evolving to have superhuman abilities that were judged on another system that came up after called the Modus system, which is the Latin word for limit. Yes. Sorry, I really like this story. I've worked a lot on it. Also, I can't hear myself think, so I'm just gonna... There we go. Anyways. So, essentially, the Modus system ran off of 6 coefficients, which are actually right here. There are 6 categories. There is the danger category, utility category, control category, movement, efficiency, and the actual type of ability it is. Danger category basically is the destructiveness or lethality of an ability. Utility is based on the amount of usefulness it has in various different situations. So something with a high danger rating but a low utility rating might not necessarily be good. For example, somebody that has the ability to instantly destroy anything that they touch, so long as they are holding a specific item or something like that, would directly impact the utility because of the triggers of abilities. They're not all just without condition. They have to have a what's it called? Catalyst. Most abilities have to have a catalyst in order to function. So there's the danger rating, utility, which is based on overall usefulness of that ability. The control category is basically centered around the condition in which the ability is activated. Having more control over your ability, aka having a less strict condition, obviously would mean that you have a higher control value. Then the movement category, obviously. Efficiency is basically the amount of energy or focus that an ability would require in order to use. For example, somebody that is able to output a lot of energy via magnetic waves per se, just as an example, but it takes away from their life force, maybe not so efficient. Then there are the power types, which are physical abilities that affect physical things. Mental abilities affect mental things. Spiritual abilities, spiritual things. Spatial things, basically anything to do with spatial manipulation. Mystical abilities are basically abilities that don't necessarily fit in the rules of physics or normal science based on abilities. Planar abilities allow you to interact with different planes of existence. Commanding abilities are anything that are able to force an object, a person, whatever, to do something. So, for example, telekinesis, while that would sound like it would go into a mental ability, it's actually a commanding ability because it's based on the manipulation of objects. Whereas, let's see, telepathy would be a mental ability because it has an effect that is purely mental. And then there's natural abilities, which are abilities that effectively change the basic laws of nature. This is not a project, actually. Well, technically it is a project, but not for anything. I'm just writing it because I am an author and I like writing. Yeah, this is the basics of this world society. Basically, that's just what determines your role in society. People with a low overall modus number, aka people... Okay, you know what? I'll pull out an example character. Who is a good example character? Where's Raphael? Raphael has to be here. Okay, so Raphael, his ability is called Power Up. It's got an Thank you. I'll explain the story in a second. I just want to make sure I'm clearer about the actual how abilities work. So, for example, Raphael, his ability has no danger rating, no utility rating, no control rating, no movement rating, no efficiency rating, but it does classify as an ability still. So you have to put the little 1 at the end because it is a physical based ability that manipulates your physical abilities. His ability basically triggers whenever he is pricked by a specific needle, a very specific needle, in a very specific place. And his ability basically allows him to start stockpiling danger rating. But because he doesn't have any natural augmentations to his ability, he was classified as a Soli because nothing about his ability stands out as powerful. So this is an example of a really broken ability that just got overlooked by the modus system because the modus system isn't perfect. Which I see is a problem in a lot of stories, that they have a scaling system for abilities and such, but it's not consistent. Okay, you know what? Screw this. I'm not listening to the music. You guys can enjoy the music because it's distracting me. Essentially, a lot of stories have all of these different systems to develop the power, or not develop, determine the power of an ability. For example, if you look at certain comic series, actually the comic that gave me inspiration to do this story was called Unordinary. It's a webtoon, and basically how the power scaling system works there is they have a similar thing to me, but it's just a chart of all of the inherent abilities of that. And so technically, if you were to throw somebody like Raphael into that system, his offensive rating would be drastically higher than it actually is on a base level. And if you look at different areas, for example, a really popular... yeah, so if you look... Oh, my brain just completely turned off. If you look at stuff that's really popular, for example, Naruto, actually, the ranks of ninjas determined by your ability to basically function as a ninja. And so as a base level, if you start off at a lower rank but you have the capability of a much higher rank, you would have to undergo a test of some sorts to get into that higher rank. Uh, However, that's not necessarily always going to be effective. What if somebody has the capability, but they just aren't able to pass tests? JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I don't know. I haven't watched too much of JoJo's. I don't necessarily know how the power scaling and that works. Um, but yeah, basically anything with a power scaling system usually has imperfections. But these imperfections are generally not actually made note of in the context of the series. And so I'm making note of the imperfections of the scaling system in this series. Because I feel like it's unique. So yeah, that's the essential premise of the ability system. You know what? Just for kicks. Let's go look over here. Oh, Lemurus. I didn't want to spoil what Lemurus's final ability would be because in this world, your ability can actually evolve if given the proper conditions. However, everybody is born either with the ability to evolve their ability or without it. And this is actually marked by a secret 7th number, as seen here. Technically I'm not working on this project with anyone else, but I do have kind of a co-author, who I talk to for ideas and everything. It's actually the person that lurks every stream. Yeah, it's him. He helps me a lot with basically getting the story, getting the characters down. We need to find... where are the plot points? Oh, this chick. Okay. So I actually came up with a character a few months ago. Yeah, really. His name is Brannick. But yeah. So, this is a character I came up with a few months ago. Her name is Sarah, and her ability is called Roulette. And this is another case of the modus system not necessarily being 100% consistent. For example, she is ranked as a Medi, which means that her ability is kind of in the middle of it's just a mediocre ability. It's not a bad ability, it's not a good ability. However, if you look at what her ability's effect is, basically she can turn any circular object into a roulette wheel, and anything that is spherical she can turn into the ball of the roulette wheel. And she draws either a heart, a spade, a club, or a diamond on the wheel, and it changes what the roulette wheel does. So, for example, if she draws a heart on the wheel, this is basically all about buffing and debuffing people. So you spin the wheel, and depending on what it lands on, it could dramatically increase the strength of a person or dramatically decrease the strength of a person. Just as it can also clear somebody's mind, inflict curses, or not inflict curses, sorry, cure curses, cure miasma, which is actually another term that doesn't come from English. It's actually, it's like a very twisted version of karma. It comes from Greek mythology. I actually haven't talked about that on stream before. But yeah. Then there is the spade, which is all about just straight up cursing people and stuff. So at a 1, it basically will afflict the user of the ability with a random disease that either has existed before or currently does exist. And then at a 2, it will do the same thing but for a target. You can poison yourself, poison someone else, light yourself on fire, literally freeze yourself, knock somebody out. Also, if you roll an 11 or 12, congrats, you just made somebody extremely badly, mortally wounded. You can also get people to be struck by lightning, complete paralysis, hallucinations, disorientation, permanently blinding somebody, permanently deafening somebody. You can curse somebody with miasma. You can force somebody to experience exhaustion, petrification, seizing, strokes. And then my personal favorite, rolling a high number. It kind of is like Hocus Pocus, but I did start writing this book before Hero came out. So it was not based on that. I promise. But yeah, just straight up killing people is also an option. Third variation, which is if she draws a club, it just starts a bunch of natural disasters. That's it. Diamond is just kind of like a weird one in which it just kind of spontaneously does a bunch of random things. I really like this ability. It's really fun. It took me like literally like 2 hours to make this ability because I wasn't wanting to repeat anything. And even then, fun fact, I accidentally did. I did. Whoops. Oh crap, wait. But yeah, so that's fun. I also have this gag character that Brannick made. His name is Felix Wright, and yes, it's a joke on Phoenix Wright. His nickname, what people call him in school, is Mr. Objection because his ability, basically, every single time he is around and somebody says a lie, his ability automatically forces him into saying the word objection. And I thought it was really funny, and it was. And so he is officially a major part of the story. I love him so much. He's so funny. He's great. Oh, right. I forgot to show off the twins. Here we go. Oh, here they are. The Sordus twins. Basically, they are a boy and girl, respectively, who are both 15. The boy's ability is called Sacrificial Wish. Basically, he's capable of granting any wish. So no matter what you ask, he will be able to grant it. No matter what. So there's no limit. Sorry, I rolled over my charger with my computer chair, or whatever it is. Anyways, so there's no limit to what kind of wish he can grant. Which is contradictory to, you know, the whole genie thing. I can't kill people, I can't make people fall in love. No, he can straight up do whatever he wants. There is no limit. However, that's when the fun part kind of happens. If you ask him to grant a wish, him specifically, there's a horrible price that's exacted that is not determined beforehand. After the wish is completed, the price will be given to whoever makes the wish. It also curses whoever makes a wish with miasma. Now, if you ask the sister, it will basically remove the negative effects of her brother's ability. So if you ask the sister for the wish, then she is able to grant the wish, but without all the negative effects. However, now we resume over here, the twins' backstory. Basically, Sinestra and Dexter, which actually, yeah, each person is only allowed to make one wish. You can wish as many times as you want, but the negative effects will keep on stacking. And the thing is, if you look at the backstory, Sinestra was basically abused by their father. And Dexter was treated as like a golden child because his ability was basically a top tier ability. One day, Dexter actually finds out about their father abusing his sister, and Dexter basically breaks down because Dexter isn't allowed to grant his own wishes. His ability doesn't work like that. So somebody else has to make a wish. And so he basically begs Sinestra to make a wish to be free from that kind of abuse. But because of the phrasing of her wish, it kind of is a little bit weird. And so the negative effect, being phrased free from this kind of abuse, is taken literally in this case. So since she is a girl and it was more physical and sexually abusive relationship, she adopts the mindset of her brother and becomes physically like him. Minus the actual physical things. She just basically started to dress like him and act like him. And she gains the miasma. And they were essentially moving around foster. Oh, by the way, forgot to mention this. The wish straight up kills their dad. Like, the dad is just straight up dead. Like, he exploded and blood was everywhere. It was great. And so, basically, Sinestra and Dexter get shuffled around a bunch of foster homes and stuff. They were separated once as foster kids. But before Sinestra was taken away, she made another wish that her and her brother would essentially be together forever. And as a result, the orphanage that they originally lived in before the foster homes spontaneously burned down, and everyone died. So they were treated as a curse while Sinestra's miasma got worse. And so they were kicked out of all orphanages and nobody wanted them. So essentially they just started living by themselves using wishes and such to trick people into giving them things or whatever. Oh man, I love these characters so much. Yeah, so those two characters are actually really fleshed out. Because I really, really liked them. And so I created them. I basically worked them into a major part of the story as well. It doesn't come in until the Twins arc and the second Student Wave arc. And then they're also a very big part in the Invasion arc and the Rebellion arc. They pretty much... So because of Lemurus making a wish in the Rebellion arc, it essentially solves the entire turmoil of the group of main characters. And there's like 20 main characters. There's like the main character, there's the other main character that isn't seen as a main character yet. And then there's all of the other students and such that are part of the main character group. Oh yeah, so the very first scene of the actual book Oh, it was so good. I loved it so much. Oh, also forgot to mention this. But people would intentionally breed people in order to create new abilities that were stronger. So if you were Sully, you pretty much didn't have the right to say no to anything. It's great. Um, episode 1 begins. Basically, Lemerus, which is the main character, walks out of the classroom and is starting to open the door and everything to leave for his club meeting. But it's not revealed that he's leaving for a club meeting yet. Basically, somebody kicks him in the back, slamming him into the door. Also, he has heterochromia, which means that his eyes are different colors. So yeah, that's just a little fun fact I threw in there because why not? Anyways, the bully is starting to trash talk Lemerus, or Lem, while Lem just kind of ignores him and grabs a pair of gloves from his backpack with a small steel ball. Yes. Oh man, I'm getting so excited. Anyways, so the attacker notices that Lem is ignoring him, so I don't swear on stream. Lemerus is the name of the main character. It's the Latin word for the malevolent spirits. Basically, malevolent souls is his name. Which is actually a nod to a few different things that happen in the story. But yeah, so I don't swear on stream, so I'm not going to read it out loud. Because Twitch doesn't, you know... I don't think that Twitch actually cares, but you know what? I care. So I'm not going to read it because I'm trying to get better at not swearing as much. And Lem just straight up punches this guy in the ribs. Yeah, so then he smirks at the attacker and just beats the ever-living daylights out of this man. Basically, Lemerus's ability allows, forces him to dodge everything. Period. Okay, so if we go down here, so Lem is right here. His ability is called Dodge Step. His activation condition is hostility has to be there and such. Ability effect. It basically instantly repositions the user into a different location and or position to dodge. So basically, you can't hit him if you want to hit him. That's just it. If you want to hit him, you can't hit him. If you don't want to hit him, you can hit him. And that is how the ability goes. Anyways. What? Yeah, so I made the condition pretty weird because I thought it works with the ability. And he's an aggressive person. Oh, also, he's a top tier of society. He just pretends to not be a top tier of society. Wait, that's not an Apex number. What am I on? Sorry, gotta fix this number real quick. Movement. There we go. That's an Apex ability. Okay, let's see here. So, yeah. So basically, Apex are the term used for people with a very high rating. He, however, claims that he doesn't have an ability. So people pick on him for not having an ability. Which, like, you know, it's based in a society where your ability determines your class and also everything that you're allowed to do. Anyways, so this fight results in Lemerus breaking his attacker's ribs, and then basically he says this, calling people out, saying, "So anybody else want to pick on the defenseless guy? You guys are just making me late. I'd like to go." And then he just walks off. Yeah, so he puts his gloves back into his backpack, opens the door, makes a run for it, goes to a grassy field, completely surrounded by bushes. It's basically like this garden area, like a circle. But nobody really goes there. And this is the area where he has his club meetings. He throws down his backpack and grabs his gloves, which are now smeared with blood because of the fight that he just had. And he basically says, "Welcome to my club, Hierarchy Studies," which is a study of the hierarchy. This club is exclusively for Soli and Medi, and serves as a defense against Apex. Soli is the Latin word for basically low. Apex is the Latin word for high. Medi is the Latin word for middle. And basically, so you know, everybody thinks that he doesn't have an ability in, you know, and so he pulls out his bloodied gloves, and mentions it. He literally mentions the bloody gloves, and he's just like, "Anyways, I think that, this is gonna work as why you guys can trust me." Don't worry, if you don't remember, I will literally explain it as many times as necessary, because I definitely get a kick out of talking about my story, and talking about everything that I've written. Yes, everybody that is below Apex avoids Apex. Just as everybody that... So basically, Soli and Medi will always avoid Apex. Soli will always avoid Medi, and people that don't have any abilities will always avoid Soli. Is there anything higher than Apex? No. Apex is the highest tier. However, there are people that are more powerful in the Apex tier. For example, if I go over here and I go to Mr. Lester, which is one of... he's the main villain of the Invasion arc. His ability allows him to completely restructure and rearrange atoms and molecules of anything that they touch. So naturally, he has a pretty high modus. But it's not necessarily anything too special, considering... where is Olivia? Oh, there we go. Olivia has an ability called Slime Tamer, which allows her to create... or anything that she touches, she can turn into a slime. And also is able to control the slime. Basically, she turns them into monsters. She turns everything she touches into monsters. It's pretty cool. I noticed that all said base, wish, and after Alvin Modus, but let's see. Twins arc. There we go. Okay. So Twins arc is where a lot of the really major stuff happens, because it's where it starts setting up for all of the things to collapse. The Twins arc is basically when Dexter and Sinestro move and switch schools to Lemurus' school. Lemurus then proceeds to tell everybody in his club that they are not allowed to make a wish to the twins under any circumstance. Now, something that happened before this is a character named Vince that is allowed to turn his emotion into a form of power output. He went through an ability evolution, and now his ability is called Will Manifest, which turns his emotion into physical manifestations of power. Olivia, which is the slime girl, accidentally turns one of Vince's manifestations, so his manifestation of happiness, she turns it into a slime, which basically completely makes it impossible for Vince to be happy at all. Which is really important because Olivia tries to make a wish after that to undo it. However, she makes a wish to the wrong twin, and therefore the wish is granted, but at that cost. Olivia immediately goes into the process known as limit overflow, which is when your ability evolves, and she kills all of her friends by turning them into slimes. She turns her friends into slimes as a negative reaction to making a wish. She returned his happiness at the sake of killing what brought her hers. Anyways, Lemurus then proceeds to knock her out, hitting her so hard that she gets slept. Anyways, second wave of students, people start joining the club after some notoriety hits the club. Then there is the invasion arc, which basically goes over what happens if somebody decided to just use their ability selfishly. So yeah, that is where Lester comes in, which is the villain boy. I did skip a lot of details because I decided not to explain all of the characters in the story. But essentially, Cyrus has the ability to analyze anything that he sees and determine every detail. He identifies that the criminal's ability is atomic rearrangement. Lemurus starts to fight against the criminal only after the criminal actually straight up murders one of the... Is there any laws in that world? Well, the law is there, but if you can't punish the person breaking the law, there's not really much use of it. And the criminal was being actually pursued by police. Anyways. So, Jackson, which is one of the students in Lemurus' club, gets straight up killed. Head explodey things. And then Lemurus decides to actually reveal that he does have an ability, and instead of just, you know, being good at fighting, he decides to completely annihilate this man, which he successfully does. But in the process, he starts the Olivin Modus, which is limit overflow, the evolution process. And one thing I didn't mention before is that limit overflow actually causes the user to start misfiring their ability randomly. So basically, their ability just continuously activates and deactivates, which is actually how Olivia killed all of her friends, is that she started going through that process as an effect of the curse of making a wish. Another thing to be noted, this process is actually extremely painful, being so painful that people would pretty much rather just die, like 100%, but are incapable of killing themselves during that period of time, considering their body is completely out of control. However, Lemerus pushes through the pain of the process and starts going to town. Basically, it ends with Lemerus literally crushing their abilities, change their appearance. It kind of depends on the ability. Any ability that will change the appearance will usually do it in a noticeable way that's relevant to the ability. For example, Lemerus's ability, when it goes through the limit overflow process, does not change his ability. Another good example is Olivia and Vince also go through the limit overflow, but also don't change their appearance. Usually it will only change their appearance if their ability has something to do with their appearance. There are cases where this is not necessarily true. For example, there's a character, I'm actually going to go to this one. Where is she? Elizabeth. Yes, here we go. Elizabeth is not a human. She is a doll. A doll that was made by a girl named Liza, who has the ability called Inhuman Animation, which allows her to create artificial souls and force them into any object, either animate or not. So she could straight up literally punch your soul out and replace your soul with somebody else. That's Elizabeth's mom. Liza, not being very original, named her daughter Elizabeth, nicknaming her daughter Liza. So that's an example of a case where just because your ability has nothing to do with your physical appearance does not mean necessarily that your ability cannot affect your appearance. She cannot... Actually, technically she can control the person because she has the ability to manipulate souls. So she could just evict your soul and replace it with something else that'll actually listen to her if she wanted to. And she can do that as much as she wants. But yeah, so the reason why I brought up the whole process of that, Lemerus beats the criminal's head in, killing him very brutally. After that, Lemerus was outed as not really having strict morals necessarily, because, you know, he did just straight up kill somebody. And so the students that were in his club started forming a divide because they weren't sure if they could trust Lemerus anymore. So there were some people that thought that Lemerus was justified in what he did. There are some people that did not believe that. However, Cyrus and Felix, aka Analyze Boy and Objection Boy, interrogate Lemerus into giving up information that had been vital as to why he was trying to hide his ability. When he was younger, he accidentally killed 2 people. And essentially, that's pretty much what drove the rest of the divide in. However, they did not find out why he killed these two people, otherwise they would have found that they were basically harassing his mother and beating up his mother, and so he accidentally went too far and killed them when he was trying to fend them off and protect his mother. So they didn't get the context of the situation, they just got the situation, so that makes the villain that he killed the third person that he killed. So this is just notes on who trusted Lemurus still after that, notes of who did not trust them, and notes of who just didn't really care. Now, at this point in the story, Lemurus and Olivia were actually dating. And so after this whole divide happened, Olivia actually stopped trusting Lemurus, which caused a lot of problems in the relationship. So she started behaving more harshly towards him and everything. And then basically the people that didn't trust Lemurus stopped attending club meetings, and Lemurus secretly made a wish with Dexter, because Dexter's sister was actually somebody that avoided Lemurus, so he was forced into making a wish to Dexter and getting the negative effects. So he makes a wish, trying to resurrect Jackson, but Dexter refuses to grant the wish. Elizabeth, I believe, is a Sully, I think. Yeah, she's Sully. Her ability basically allows her to completely control paper. It's a pretty bad ability, but used properly it can be really good. So the rating system takes into account the base stats of an ability. It doesn't acknowledge at all what you could do if you train the ability. Which is another problem that a lot of modern things with power ratings and scalings do. Weakness is water. Actually, no. She can change the shape and size of water, or not water, of paper. So yeah, she could, in theory, just make a paper airplane that flies infinitely. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to mind, but it was. Anyways, I want to talk about this because this is one of the points that I really enjoyed. So this entire story, Lemurus has been very cold, or very positive, not really anything else. So basically, nobody ever really knew what Lemurus was ever feeling. And so Lemurus, since he can't make the wish to resurrect Jackson, decided to make a wish to cure Sinestra of the miasma and the bad luck from the several wishes that she's made to Dexter. And so as an effect of that wish, Sinestra was basically uncursed, and Lemurus received all of the miasma, which is just straight up bad luck, and also having a lot of miasma will shorten your life. Dexter granted the wish. Sinestra started acting strangely, of course. Since Sinestra was no longer cursed into her brother's frame of mind, she gained her mental freedom again. But it actually ended up forcing her further away from Lemurus, as she was able to now properly process, or properly emotionally process to all of the trauma that she's had, that was just straight up hidden because of the curse. But yeah, so 2 of the students decide to attack Lemerus. I haven't necessarily come up with why yet, but it will happen. And then Vince basically stops the attack, and Sarah, aka Roulette Girl, comes in and basically says, listen, y'all, if you guys decide that you guys want to fight, sure, but just so you know, if you guys fight, I don't know what'll happen. Maybe you guys might die to a hurricane? Who knows? How many characters are in this story so far? One, two. Oh wait, sorry, I'm not counting them properly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. I haven't come up with Anastasia's family yet, so that sticks at 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63. Wait, no, not 63. That's Elizabeth's mom. 63. Yeah. 62. Sorry, I miscounted. My bad. 62. I miscounted. I accidentally counted Jill twice. Yeah, so there's a lot of characters. That's just the name characters, and that's only the ones that I have so far. Probably another 100 to 200 characters are gonna end up being introduced in the story. Yep. So anyways, let's continue with one of my favorite scenes in the book that I've written. So basically, Sarah stops the fight from getting any worse. Everyone leaves except for Sarah and Lemerus because Lemerus is just kind of standing there. And Sarah basically just calls him out. Basically saying, dude, like, you're fooling everyone else, but I see it. Like, you're pretty sad. Like, it's pretty obvious how, like, mentally trashed you are right now. Um, Basically, Lemerus, after being called out, starts breaking down, and he actually loses control because, mind you, he's still going through the ability evolution process. Like, he's still in a tremendous amount of pain and is constantly holding back his ability from misfiring. But in this case, his ability does misfire and actually reacts to his emotional state, which is actually a hint at the next condition of his ability not being based on hostility. But yeah, basically he hugs Sarah, zoom out, reveals that Eleanor, whose ability is to make little portals, and Olivia, Slime Girl, are watching through one of Eleanor's said portals. Olivia then basically calls Lemerus a cheat, and Eleanor tries to calm her down, saying that Lemerus was just being very, very vulnerable at that point in time. Olivia then tries to kill Sarah. Yep. Olivia is now a straight up revenge murderer. But Sarah pulls out one of the wheels that she carries around with her to activate her ability. She basically rolls a 13, which boosts her reflexes. Basically, Olivia starts using the slimes made out of her dead friends. And then Sarah draws a spade on... Yeah, so Olivia is actually unstable. Like, she's mentally unwell. But it's not so obvious until this fight, and until eventually stuff happens, which I will get to in a few seconds. Sarah pulls another wheel and draws a spade, and straight up poisons Olivia. Yep. Now, this is very accelerated because it's just plot points. So the actual story doesn't move this fast. I'm just leaving out a lot of the details, that way I have creative freedom when I'm writing, rather than when I'm creating the plot, because it'll be easier for me to process. Anyways, so Sarah, obviously being worried for her old friend, goes in to check on Olivia because, you know, she just collapsed from being poisoned. However, Olivia summons another slime and severely burns Sarah, almost to a mortal wound. Lemerus actually is walking past to meet up with the club, and sees all of the burns on Sarah's body, in which he responds to immediately using his newfound ability to quickly bring Sarah to the nurse's office. Olivia obviously starts attacking Lemerus. Daniel, which is, I haven't mentioned him yet, he has the ability to control the momentum of certain things. And so he intercepts the attack and vectors, because his ability is called vectoring. He uses his ability to essentially stop all momentum for several objects and prevent Olivia from, you know, slimifying him. Basically, Raphael shows up, and it's shown that he's actually stacking his ability at this point in time. And he basically just stomps. Oh, by the way, I loved the contradictory idea of Raphael's ability. And so, let's see. Okay, here we go. So, Raphael is actually a really short kid. He's really short and really small. He's just like a little pipsqueak boy, but he secretly is an absolute powerhouse. Anyway, so he stomps and literally severs the earth in front of him. So he hits the ground so hard that it splits the ground. Olivia, knowing how Raphael's ability works, tries to basically stall out Raphael's ability. That way he weakens a bit. Jennifer, who was originally neutral, finally decides to take sides with Olivia. Basically, Raphael drops a few more needles and stomps again and shatters all of the windows because of all of the force that he hit the ground with. Raphael gets hinged because Jennifer's ability is basically she can hinge things and force things to be completely stationary. But yeah, so Daniel tries to vector Raphael out of the hinge because vectors and hinges kind of directly contradict each other. So hey, you know what? Who wins? Turns out neither. And as soon as the hinge is broken, Raphael gets friggin' launched into eternity because of all of the potential energy. Because fun fact, I actually know a bit of physics, so I used constant energy input into a stasis object, or basically a stalled object, and all of that force that is being stored in that object would cause that object to go flying as soon as the pressure was released. And so in this case, after hinge was released, all of the pressure from the vectoring just made him launch into the distance. Anyways, Vince then squares up with Jennifer because, you know, she just kind of launched Raphael into the distance. Who knows if he survived that? We don't see him for another long while. And, sorry, my neck is, like, killing me. Anyway, so Vince starts getting very pissed off, and due to his ability being will manifest, his anger becomes a manifestation of a large mass of red liquid. And he quite literally rips Jennifer to shreds. Like, there's nothing left. It's just a mass of blood. So after accidentally killing Jennifer, because, you know, Vince would never actually kill somebody intentionally, so it was an accident. After that, Vince actually becomes very scared of his own ability because he's never seen it on an offensive use before. He's only used it as defense, never as offense. So, witnessing the actual destructive capabilities of his newfound manifestation, he starts freaking out and panicking. And this fear manifests itself as he looks at Olivia because, you know, Olivia is just, like, mortified. Actually, at this point in time, Jennifer is the second person who has died that was part of the main cast. Yep. The way I'm explaining it makes people seem a lot more dead than it sounds. There have been a lot of people in side cast that have died, but main cast, very few people have died. Oh yeah, I forgot. Whoopsie-daisies. I forgot about this scene. Right, so Lemuris, remember that bully that was picking on Lemuris as he was walking to club? Yeah, so he gets one of his friends to start trying to, you know, pick on Lemurus as revenge and stuff. End result, Lemurus accidentally, not accidentally, perfectly intentionally, but it looks like an accident, tricks the girl into murdering the guy that was picking on him. Anyways, so that happened. She erased his face. Yeah. And the entire time he's just taunting her. It's great. I love it so much. Anyways, so Vince accidentally... Whoa, she can do that? Do what? This part? Her ability is to erase matter that she touches. So basically... oh yeah. So I'll read this part. Lemurus stops and looks her dead in the eyes. Are you done yet? I've got somewhere I'd rather be, so bye, I guess. Lemurus walks away, then crouches, dodging the girl's swipe. She recoils in shock and swipes again, but Lem trips and falls before the swipe could get to him. She gets visibly frustrated and starts barraging Lem with swipes. To which Lem responds by standing in front of Damon and ducking just in time to cause her to erase Damon's head. She notices what Lem did as Lem smirks and walks off. She catches her dead friend's body as it falls to the ground, but as she does, his blood pressure causes blood to erupt from where his head once was and showers her in his blood. She stands up and looks at Lem. You planned this, didn't you? You intended to trick me into killing him from the start, right? All because you couldn't kill him yourself, right? I'll make your death a slow and painful one. Yes. I love this. I'm not very good at choreographing fight scenes, so that's one of the things that I'm gonna get a lot of practice in, hopefully when I start up college. Because, you know, English major here. Lem laughs at her. If I wanted him dead, I would have done it myself. Unfortunately, I've just witnessed a murder. I should probably report the psychotic killer to the police, don't you think? Lem pulls out his phone and dials the police and reports the situation. I've just seen somebody use their ability to kill someone at school during a fight. I'm scared for my life. Please send help as soon as possible. Lem hangs up the phone and walks away. However, the girl refused to give in to Lem's games, so she yells at him and starts crying. You piece of human trash. You murderer. You liar. How dare you kill him and blame me for it. Lem cuts her off and puts his right pointer finger on her lips. I didn't do anything except run away, as a Soli should. It's your fault for not having a hint of self-control. So how about you be a good girl and wait for the police to come take you away? But yeah, so basically he just... Lem moves closer to her and gets in her face. So she swipes at him, but he pulls her in, and she basically just Alt F4s her nose. She deletes her nose. And Lem crouches, getting face to face with her, and mocks her, saying, "Got your nose." Oh, never mind, you do. And just walks off as the police get there and take her into custody. Oh man. So yeah, so Lemurus has only killed 3 people. He has directly caused the death of much more than that. Oh, and I was wrong. 4 people. Sorry, there were 3 people that were harassing his mom, not 2. I can't... Whoopsies. Anyways, back to this part where Vince manifests his fear and looks at Olivia. Literally everything in the area goes completely pitch black. And Olivia just starts screaming in terror. Vince now wakes up, and Raphael is there. So are Lemris and Daniel, looking greatly disturbed. And Olivia is huddled in a ball, crying and screaming. Yeah, this story actually does have a name. The name of the story is called Limited. The series is called Limited Series. I haven't named the actual, like, first book or first installment into the series, but the series is called Limited. Believe it or not, this is actually mild in terms of gore for me. Usually I write much worse gore into my stories. Yeah, thank you. I called it Limited because it's about, you know, a story where people are restricted by what they can do. So they're limited by their limit. Which is the ranking in terms of what they can do. So I really liked it. I thought it was fun. But yeah, so the weird thing about Vince's new manifestation of fear is that she basically he inflicted a permanent fear onto somebody. This case being Olivia. Basically, Olivia's brain is completely permanently distorted. But yeah. So now it's been mentally infused into her nature to always eliminate sources of fear instead of just disabling them. So if anybody ever scared her or tried to harm her in any way, now it is in her subconscious to just kill them at any cost. Yep. Basically, eventually it gets revealed that the people that Lemris did kill in the past were rightfully killed and accidentally killed. And Cyrus basically tells all of everybody that, hey, you know what? It's fine. This guy isn't actually as bad as we thought he was. Then there is a mini arc using a doctor whose biological name, yes, she was named this at birth. Her name is Psych Ward. Love it. And she's a therapist. I enjoy this book very much. This arc actually hasn't been planned yet. So all I have so far is that Olivia is taken to see Psych Ward, and then Psych Ward's ability is revealed. Psych Ward is able to change the perception of a relationship between her and another person. So basically, she uses her ability to trick Olivia into thinking that she is very, very close. And so Olivia tells everything to Dr. Ward and is released. Now, here is the best plot twist I've made so far in the story. There is one that is planned that is later on, but I can't talk about that because that plot twist is this. This is that plot twist. And so expect a plot twist, but you won't know what it is. Okay. So Jackson actually did have an ability. Jackson is the student that was killed by the villain in the Invasion arc. Um, Now, Jackson was prior thought to not have any sort of ability. Yeah, no spoilers. I won't spoil it. That's why it's in small text, because then I have to consciously put an effort into reading it, and so I'll always think twice about opening it. But yeah, so Jackson secretly did have an ability. His ability is to resurrect every 6 months if he is killed. And so, since it's the first time he's been killed, nobody knew about his ability beforehand because it just didn't fit into any category, so it showed up as a 0 on the Modus test. And so, if you have a 0 in the Modus test for all 6 categories, you just are regarded as you don't have an ability. Now, Jackson is resurrected in December. Hard to believe that so much time has passed in the story up to this point, because this is in December. And of course, Jackson returns to school in a very dirty tuxedo, being as though he's just crawled out of the grave. Anyways, Jackson and Olivia actually bump into each other walking to school. And since Olivia has been gone at Dr. Ward's psych lab, she basically sees Jackson all dirtied up. And when she sees the newly alive Jackson, she touches his face to ensure that he is in fact real and faints. Because she's kind of mentally not prepared to see dead people. Because keep in mind, Jackson died, and she's been severely mentally scarred. Anyways, Jackson carries Olivia to the school nurse. Jackson carries Olivia to the school, and they are both late for school, and he's looking for Elemerus. New security guards that were implemented after the Invasion arc, keep in mind, Jackson was dead during this period of time. So he was not aware of the security guard implementations, as well as the new school IDs that were all issued after that to ensure that you were a student. So, Jackson carries Olivia to the school. Oh, no, you're fine. I actually really appreciate you saying that you like the story. I don't get to talk about my book very much, and writing it is such a long process that oftentimes, since I still do live with my parents, since, I'm just out of high school and going into college, I still live with my dad, and so being gone for hours at a time writing a book just doesn't really happen. So I haven't really been able to make any progress on my book ever since I graduated. So the only progress I've made was on stream. So having people be able to listen to my story and be able to react to it, it means a lot to me, because it means that I'm getting feedback, which is most important, and feedback is what allows you to tell yourself if you're going in the right direction or not. But it also gives me time to work on it and refresh my memory of what I was writing. How long have I been working on this book? I believe a year and a half now. I've been working on this book for a year and a half, I think. But yeah. I just want to get past this point because it's actually really relevant. Because everything that I was writing before this moment actually led up to this moment making sense. Because Jackson was dead during the new implementations of school identification, as well as the new security guards. Whereas Olivia had been at a psych lab for like 2 or 3 months at this point, trying to recover from when Vince destroyed her brain. She sees the dead Jackson. She thinks that she's unwell mentally. And then they bump into the security guards. Security guards, you know, being recruited after Jackson was killed, so they'd never seen Jackson before and would never know that he was actually a student of the school. The security guards asked for ID, but he was not alive at that point in time, so he basically asks about it innocently, and basically... Okay, so I forgot to mention this earlier. Before Olivia faints, we're actually gonna move that... Let's see. We are going to get before Olivia faints, and then we will move that right there. Okay, so when Olivia sees the newly alive Jackson, touches his face to ensure he's real. Before Olivia faints, Jackson asks a super innocent question, being he died and he doesn't actually remember dying. So he asks why he was in a grave, and if this was some sort of sick joke. And then Olivia faints. And then he carries her to the school, meets with the security guards. He doesn't have an ID, so they basically escort him. He brings Olivia to the nurse. Sarah, mind you, is recovering from all of her burns that she got. And actually, now that I remember it, Olivia's only been in the psych lab for probably a week at this point. I think she goes back later. And so Sarah is still in the hospital recovering from her burns. Or not hospital, in the nurse recovering from her burns. Jackson sees that. Or Jackson sees Sarah recovering from her burns. Nurse tells her... Not her, sorry. Nurse tells him that Sarah was burned by somebody using their ability accidentally. Lemerus then walks in checking on Sarah and sees Jackson, who he thought was dead, you know. Lemerus runs over, hugs the poor fella, and they basically just exchange some friendly banter. Jackson asks Lemerus why he woke in a casket. Lemerus explains the whole situation. Jackson in shock because, you know, he was dead and was therefore unable to notice all of these things. Jackson basically falls to the ground, and Lemerus takes Jackson to Cyrus after ensuring that Olivia and Sarah were both safe in the nurse office. Cyrus spends some time studying Jackson because that's how his ability works. And Cyrus finds out that Jackson's ability is that he can revive twice a year, every 6 months. Now, Jackson begins freaking out, as somebody who just found out that they had died probably would. Lemerus tries to calm him down, and Jackson asks about the other club members, to which Lemerus explains all of the tension, but how they made up in the end. Lemerus reintroduces Jackson to the club, as there are now some students that... No, so twice in 1 year. So once every 6 months. Yep. And so if he is killed twice in 6 months, then he actually will stay dead. Okay, but yeah, so Lemerus reintroduces Jackson to the club as there's new members. Yeah, it's a pretty useless ability, but it actually served for plot purposes in this case. Um, but yeah, with the club mostly back to normal, minus Jennifer having been killed, Sarah being very badly injured, and Olivia being mentally unwell. Lemurs decides that it's time to actually start publicizing their club. Um, and so this is actually used as a sort of filler arc, but not really. It's an arc that's purely to establish relationships between the characters and also just kind of calm down all of the tensions from the prior arcs being so uh, kind of morbid and everything and dark. So this arc is more positive and upbeat and focuses more on the interpersonal relations of characters and intrapersonal relationships of characters to establish how close everybody is to each other. And yeah, so that's the rundown of the story so far, with the exception of all of the story beats I skipped uh, in order to keep this part secret. Oh, man. I'm gonna go grab water real quick because I have no water. So I will be right back. I'll um I'll leave this up because this is actually a map of all of the stuff that. Ah, okay, there we go. You know what? That's good enough. So essentially, this is just a map of all of the events that they are going to use to uh, promote the club. So I will be right back after getting some water. Okay. Hello. Nice to be back. Nice to be back. I got myself 3 bottles of water because that'll keep me entertained for a while. And then I got myself a very large glass of milk. Sickly boys gotta drink milk in order to keep their bones from breaking. It's fun. Raphael gotta drink some milk. Although I will say, I did not go over any of the characters at all. So you know what? I'll do that next. Need them calcium, yes. Jeez. Why did I make it so much? Am I dumb? Did I do a stupid? Did I do a really stupid? I did a stupid. So basically, there is... So a big portion of the reason why the club exists is because Lemurus teaches people how to use their ability. And so there's a little thing right here that is essentially Lemurus's instructions on how to use your ability. Now, if you noticed, that ain't here anywhere. I think I'm lucky because I think I didn't, like, I think we're good. But yeah, that would have sucked if I would have erased the prior character files, because this is the updated character file. Okay, so Jackson. We'll start with Jackson. You know, old Jack. So he's known to not have an ability. Obviously, that makes him a Sully, which is a low-tier society human being. Due to a lack of ability, John not John. What am I on? So the thing is, like, Lemurus's original name was supposed to be Dawn, but I changed it because certain things. And yeah, so sometimes I just misspeak. But yeah, so Lemurus basically said, don't rush in, stay back and learn the weaknesses of the opponent's abilities or the opponent's tendencies or the limits of the opponent's abilities and such. And then exploit any weaknesses. You have to go? Okay. See ya. I'll probably end stream. Because it's like 6. So yeah. Thank you. I'll make sure to stream this more often because I know that Brannick always says that he wants me to stream it more often too. Okay, well then I'll probably just end stream for now. I will see you next time.